Toronto is like one of the emerging like film industries in the world, and like we need to put ourselves on the map, when it
Right,
comes
right.
to
Yeah, of course.
filmmaking. I mean,
Yeah.
we're there, but there's more opportunity for growth, to expand and open up the market.
Welcome back to the Corner Talks podcast. I have my good friend here.
How's it going, man? Happy to be back.
No, it shouldn't be about anything. Like, this is one life.
Yep, one life? Like, fucking do it.
My guy.
Like, she just got it. She totally understood it.
20 years old when I started just watching a lot of movies.
And it tells a story. I want to tell a story.
Today I have a good friend, talented filmmaker, Chris Lord. What's going on, buddy? How are you?
Good. How you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you, man. Just talking to you before the podcast, Chris, I was commending you on how supportive you've been with my filmmaking career ever since we kind of connected through social media. We have never met in person, but that's the trend I get with a lot of guests on here. We've never met in person, but with the power of social media, we were able to connect through the platform. And I've just seen you always like pop up on my notifications, like frequently liking my stories, liking my content, just being a genuine supporter. So I really want to say, now that I have you on the podcast, thank you. Thank you for being such a true fan.
Man, you're most welcome, bro. I mean,
Awesome.
You've been doing a lot of great stuff that inspires me, and I'm sure it inspires other filmmakers. So yeah.
Of course. Thank you so much. That was very, very kind of you to say. So like I said, I find it truly remarkable with regards to social media, that it allows filmmakers and entrepreneurs like ourselves to broaden our network and within the industry, right? I use this platform to leverage the context that I have to kind of seek out potential opportunities with clients and future collaborators. And for the most part, really make some friends. And it's allowed me to create this opportunity that you and I are experiencing in this moment. So from familiarizing myself with your own content, I've come to respect a mutual talent and a relentless work ethic that you possess for the craft as well. Like, I know I was saying how much I appreciated you for being supportive of my filmmaking career, but you've also, got chops yourself. You know what I mean? Like, you've been killing it. You've
Thanks,
been putting
man.
out a lot
I
of
really
content.
appreciate
Yeah.
it.
For sure. I enjoy your style. I'm always looking at filmmakers and what they can bring to the table. So definitely have my eyes on you for that. But I'd like to know from you now, like, why did you pursue a career in cinema and how did you make a breakthrough in the film industry?
Yeah, so I got my inspiration from watching the TV show, The Vikings. So usually I'm not really interested in watching movies or watching TV shows,
Right.
but I do love a real great story. So watching a movie is one of my last options when I'm really bored. So one time I decided to watch Vikings because this friend of mine wanted me to like see it, right? So I watched it, but I couldn't stop. And I just binge watched it till the end.
Oh, wow.
And you know what? I forgot for a moment that it was actors acting these characters. They
Wow.
brought the whole they put themselves into the story. They brought the story alive in such a way that I forgot that these are actors.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, like I want to be able to tell stories like that, right?
Yeah.
So I decided that okay, I'm gonna do acting. So I got into Toronto Film School, and then in the last year of the year,
Right.
I had a production and directing class, and we were asked to do a short film, right? That's
Okay.
what I have on my a link to
Yeah.
my bio. Yeah,
Your Instagram, right? Well, which we'll
my
get into
Instagram.
more. Yeah.
Exactly.
Right.
So yeah, that's what set it off for me. Acting, I got into acting. Then I had some experience with filmmaking from that class, and yeah, I'm still on that journey.
That's awesome. Yeah. So that's what I was going to ask you next. Like, what kind of position did you assume when you entered the industry? And I thought that was interesting, right? Like in your Instagram bio, it says actor, and you're saying it's based on your intrigue from Vikings and the fact that you can completely immerse yourself into a character where the lines between reality and fantasy are blurred. That's really quite interesting. My first experience with that
Exactly.
was, yeah, my first experience with that was Heath Ledger in The Dark Knight. When I was 12 years old, I watched that because I've always watched movies growing up as a kid, right? But that was probably one of the most impactful movie going experiences for me, from an artistic perspective, right? Because I started to understand like that this is a craft. This isn't just entertainment. This isn't just a job. This is something that requires like skills, talent, intuition. And to achieve it is you have to be on another on a very elite level. And Heath Ledger did that beautifully.
Yeah.
So that's what I can understand when you said that you were watching Vikings. You even forgot like these were actors portraying characters, right? So that's the same effect that I kind of got. Now, why did you decide? You said you were an actor, right? Like you kind of pursued that, and now you're into this, enrolled in the Toronto Film School to kind of like cultivate your skills. Why did you now like decide to expand your skill sets, your talents, and move over like to another discipline in filmmaking?
So, like I said, we had a class, our last class, part of the year.
Okay.
Yeah. And it was production and directing class.
Okay.
And for a moment, when we started the class, I didn't know what to do. I had no clue. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not really a fan of writing, but I had to. And then, so I got some experience in writing. That was one of my first introduction to writing as a screenwriter, right?
Right.
And so I did that, figured out what I needed to do to bring my short film alive.
Right.
And in that process, I almost felt like it was an entrepreneurial journey. I'm someone that loves entrepreneurship. Like,
Right.
I had experience in photography
Mhm.
and a little bit in videography. So I just decided, okay, fine. Why don't I add that experience and bring it into filmmaking?
Got it.
And that the journey of bringing people together, actually writing a story, bringing people together to bring that story alive, and then having other people to like help with the post-production and stuff I loved it. It was phenomenal. It was a phenomenal experience.
So what you weren't strenuous, wasn't strenuous on you at all, eh? Like it was a smooth, like you enjoyed all the aches and pains and trials and tribulations.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
But what happened after that was I got burnt out. Oh, bro, I was shut physically, mentally, emotionally.
Yeah.
I couldn't function. And I was like, wow. I wanted more of it, but nothing was happening. It's like, I'm tired, and I don't even know how to go about doing another one because it does take a lot of time, a lot of energy. I do plan on doing some work in the future, but I think I needed to take that time to rest and just recuperate and get back to it. So yeah, I'm in that stage where I'm looking forward to jumping right back into it.
Awesome. Oh, so you've been on a hiatus, you're saying?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it happens, man. Like you also said you were in school, right? So would you say that also played a factor in taking you away from the creativity? Yeah.
I was working, I had family, and it was like trying to juggle I was also part of an entrepreneur program at the same time.
Yeah.
So it's like
I believe it, man. Life gets in the way, right?
Yeah.
That's why we can't beat ourselves up. But that's the important thing is that you're self-aware, right? You're acknowledging that you were burnt out or you need to kind of get back in the grind. And you have the willingness to create. That's very vital. That's something that a lot of people might be missing on because they don't have that sense of purpose, right? In Italian, we say the voglia. So like you really have that sense of kind of going after it, and you will get back on it. Voglia, we say in Italian, voglia. Yeah, because I'm Italian, so that's something my mother always says. Like sometimes when she can't articulate it, sometimes foreign words are more descriptive, right, than your own native language. She says you have to have the voglia to do something, right? So it's very important, and I'm like that too. I'm experiencing it. Like I'm not burnt out or anything. It's just I know those periods of exhaustion. Like coming back from a film festival the other day, like I'm grateful for the experience and everything like that. It's just like you just have like those moments, like because people don't realize, even though I'm a creative person and this is what I want to do, I live it and breathe it. It takes a lot out of me. Like it's a lot of energy.
Yep.
And I'm also extremely self-critical. So like when I'm doing it, I don't just do it and then I move on. Like it has to be right. It doesn't have to be perfect, but I have to feel good about it. Like I have to feel confident. And I'm the kind of person you were discussing, like mentioning kind of before the podcast about how long you've been doing videography, film directing, things like that. Because I shoot a lot of my content for clients, I'm very judgmental. It's like, did I get the right shot? How does it look? And I always prove myself wrong. But it's one of those things where it's like to go through the process when you edit it and kind of discover the voice of the project, right? Discover, like, breathe life into it. You know what I mean? Like, kind of figure out a cadence of it. So anyway, I just wanted to say that you're not alone. Other creatives like myself, like we feel it. But that's why we do this podcast, to be honest, man, is because like I share people's stories on the platform. But I also try to prove one vital message to the audience is we're all the same here. Especially if you're a creative, we're all kind of like going on the same path. So yeah, kudos to you to kind of develop that motivation and repossess it. But aside from your filmmaking ambitions, you've decided to pursue the creative venture of developing a podcast show of your own called That's a Wrap. So I thought that was pretty interesting. So I want to know from you, like, what conversations and subject matters are discussed on this podcast, and why did you decide to create such a platform?
So it's still in the initial stages. I'm just about starting it.
Got it.
I've actually decided to change that. So I now changed the name to Blactra's Real Talk.
Okay, nice.
Podcast, and that'll be we'll be talking about the creative, social, and financial barriers that people from diverse cultural backgrounds are facing, right?
Yeah, of course.
Because it is a great industry to be in, but it's a very challenging one. It requires a lot of creativity, a lot of dedication, you have to have the social capital. You have
tenacity.
To have the funding as well. I mean, you can do it without the funding, but it makes it all better when you have funding, right?
100%. Yeah.
So, we'll be the podcast will be discussing stuff around that.
Yeah.
That's the wrap. I'm still using that. It's supposed to be. So now I'm thinking of it as a sequel to a movie idea that I have. It's called Once You Go Black.
Okay.
Once
You Go Black, is it a comedy? Like a dark comedy?
Yeah, it's a comedy.
Yeah, nice. Okay, awesome. That sounds funny as hell. No, man, that's great. And I love that you are focused your attention on funding, right? Like that's a prevalent issue for that's something what you want the podcast to encapsulate. That's something that I've been struggling with at this point in my career. Not struggling, it's just a matter of like I have the ideas, I have the resources, I have the network, but we really need that budget to make it go from good to great.
Absolutely.
I've been proving it to a lot of filmmakers and to myself that you really just need an impactful, powerful story at the end of the day, something potent enough to resonate with the audience. But again, right, it's a double-edged sword. It's eventually you want to transition, you want to transcend, I should say, and become a better filmmaker, and you have to have your work look the part. There's also a lot of things you want to do as a storyteller that a $2,000 budget cannot achieve. So we have to be mindful of that, right? Cognizant of that. So I'm really happy that it's in the developing stages. I kind of had a sense of that. I just wanted to know like if you've already started it, but great to hear that its inception already has started. Now, what has been your biggest success or hardest challenges in the developing phase of this podcast?
The challenging moments are always trying to bring the idea to reality, life into it, right? Trying to get the people that you need to help you out, bring it to life the way you envision it, right? If it doesn't go exactly according to plan, that's fine. I mean, you can always like be flexible enough to make sure that you get something that is just right. Like you said, right? When you do a work, you want to make sure that, I mean, you criticize it, but you're always critiquing it, right? And
100%.
It's just right. You want to feel right about it, right? Yeah. And that the audience as well like it, they enjoy it because it's actually for them, but you also want to feel like you're satisfied with the work you've done, right?
100%.
So yeah, that's the challenging part is just bringing the pieces together and the people together, because this is my first time, and usually when you don't really have the guidance or you haven't really done it, it's challenging that way. The good thing about it is that I've been able to talk to a couple of people, so they're down, they like the idea. So we're just about getting started, and hopefully it'll be out there soon. And I would like to have you on it for sure.
Yeah, no, I was just gonna say I'd love to be a guest. I don't get often invited to podcasts. just like with my network and just like what everyone's like creative priorities are. But the fact that you have one in development, it'd be an honor for sure. Just let me know. Is it going to be in person or is it virtual?
In person.
Nice, awesome.
Yeah.
Well, you're in Toronto, right? So
Yep.
we'll be reaching. So awesome. Yeah, keep me updated. That'll be a lot of fun for sure. And I'll hopefully have better stories to tell and more projects to share with you guys when that time comes.
Looking forward to it.
Thank you, sir. Yeah, same as well. So I want to know now, as a director, like as a film director myself, right? I'm regularly intrigued by storytelling and the creative intuitions involved with crafting them, right? They're very unique in who's developing the project, how a director would approach certain subject matter. I know it's from your Instagram profile bio that you've decided to direct a short film called Stevie Was Here Too. And I believe you were mentioning this earlier in the podcast. This is the, you know what I mean? Your magnum opus so far, right? Like the one that you've been working towards, I guess. The one that burnt you out.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I want to know with this film, like, what is the premise of the story and why did you decide to make it a silent film?
Yeah. The premise of a story is about an international student who arrives in Canada for the first time.
Yeah.
On his way home, he decides to detour because he sees how beautiful the city is.
Got it.
In the process of detouring, he finds himself in a predicament of chasing a bum after his bag. So it's a comedy short film where he finds himself in a repeated cycle of chasing the bum after his bag because the bum finds his bag and
yeah,
because of his distraction, he's just having fun and he just leaves his bag somewhere that
it unravels a sequence of events, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And why it's a silent film, because this was the requirement for us to in our final year, the production class, like we had to do a silent film because this was our first time actually producing a movie, right? And to get the audios and stuff might be a little too overwhelming for the first time.
Right.
So to make it quite simple to be able to produce a movie, one of the requirements was to make it silent.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this was based on a criteria
exactly
for the school. Oh, they actually wanted to challenge you. Okay.
Exactly.
So it wasn't out of necessity because you didn't have the sound equipment or sound department. Like this was something that the rubric was asking of you. Okay.
Absolutely.
Perfect.
Absolutely.
Great. Well, that's very interesting because what I admire about your story is it reminds me of my filmmaking days earlier in my career when I did it out of necessity, where I didn't have a sound. I didn't have a sound department. I didn't have anyone I knew that could be a sound recorder. So I had to use music to dictate the story. But I pride myself with that, challenge, as probably you do as well, because it makes you tell your film from a visual perspective, because that's what film is meant to be seen as, right? It's a visual medium. And I believe like Alfred Hitchcock, one of the great filmmakers, actually said, if you can tell a film, he said something like, I'm paraphrasing here, but challenge yourself as a filmmaker by turning off the audio, like all the dialogue, even the music, and see if like your story makes sense without hearing anything, like just watching it from a visual perspective. And he's right? Like if you watch your films and you just see it from a visual perspective, if you can follow the story, that's when you made an impactful film. And then the music and the dialogue and all the sound effects and all those intricacies that you add to the content, the presentation, the picture, elevate it to another level, right? So that's really interesting, actually, that it was the school that thought of that to make it a silent film, because you would think that's an irrelevant genre in this day and age, right? Like no one's going to care about a silent film, but credit to the school for doing that. What school are you attending, by the way?
Yeah, Toronto Film School.
Oh, okay, Toronto Film School.
Yeah.
Awesome. So you probably know a lot of people that I know, like Sam Mapaduran.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah,
Yep.
He's a good friend of mine. And Q6, you know Q6?
Q6, no.
No, Ava Corley Meyer?
No.
No. It's okay.
I probably know them by faces, but
100%.
Yeah.
But it's amazing how, what I'm saying, a small world it is, right? Like the community
Exactly.
we all share. Yeah. And that's what it is, right? We have to like develop us artists. Toronto, side note, like growing up, man, I don't know if you remember, like it was not like a filmmaking capital. Like it wasn't a hub at all. Like
Yeah.
people, don't get me wrong. Like there was like, I think the Americans, like studios, would shoot here and there. Like you would hear things like, oh, I think this was shot. But the fact that we're trying, like there's people like us, like run and gun indie filmmakers, like trying to make it,
Yeah,
it was unheard of in those days, right? So that's why I'm sure you gotten the backlash or you gotten the pushback when you started telling your family or people close to you, I want to be a filmmaker,
absolutely.
right? Because this isn't LA where we're talking, we're dreamers, right? It's very business
Exactly.
centric, right? So I'm really happy about that. Now, what challenges did you encounter making this project, and is there anything you would do differently when approaching your next film?
Yeah, some of the challenges, like I said, it was for the first start, it was more internal. The
Okay,
fear, the doubts, the confusion,
right.
and that kind of made me postpone on a lot of things.
Okay,
Procrastinate. Yeah, it made me procrastinate on a lot of things. I had to break myself out of those mental state of mind, that fear, that confusion, and just say, hey, you know what? I'm going to ask for help. I'm going to do whatever I can, but I'm going to make sure I get this done. So
got
that
it.
was the first part of it. The second part of it, the external part, was when things didn't go according to plan. Let's say securing a venue, and then the manager that was supposed to be there is not there, and another manager doesn't know that you're supposed to be here. And then it's like it just takes a lot of time, till you get the right
Yeah,
person. You know what I
I
mean?
got you. I got you. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. That's,
When actors also like call off, like maybe they're sick or something happens, just because of that continuity. One of the challenges definitely was continuity, but I
yeah.
think that I was able to get through that because what happened was, because I didn't know any better,
Hmm.
I casted like about 12 to 15 people,
Oh
but
my God.
they were all supportive. Man, they were
Right.
all supportive and really
Committed to the
appreciative of.
project. Yeah, yeah,
Exactly.
yeah.
There was even a point where it was about to rain, like the last day to get that shot for continuity purposes.
Okay.
It was about to rain like heavily, and I was like, oh man, if I don't get them, you know, like I might not get the shot needed for this, like to make it make sense. And so I was like, what, should I ask them? And I decided to just ask, and they were all on board. They were like, yeah, we're gonna go with you through the rain, get this done. I'm like, wow. So I must, like, I really want to express my appreciation to each and everyone that was part of the movie that made it happen.
100%.
Also, like, the other thing was we had a 6-minute time range.
Okay.
So certain things that I had, certain footages that I have, I couldn't put it in there to make the story make sense as I really wanted to.
Got it.
But
Got it.
I'm really going to like put all those pieces in there so that people really get the full picture of what the story really means.
Oh, I got you. Oh, you're saying like you had external assets that you weren't considering putting in, like
I,
photos and things. Okay, got it.
yeah,
Yeah,
you
man,
know,
yeah, it's a process. I can see why you burnt out, right? Because all too familiar. What I experienced as well. Like it's a grind, and imagine like we're indie filmmakers, so we do a lot of the bulk of it ourselves, right? As you develop as a director, you have a team. Not that they take on all the priorities or the responsibilities, but they at least alleviate some of the weight.
yeah,
Um, and that's something that I experienced, like the festival that I recently attended. I had my film screen. I was explaining at the Q&A, like just looking back, because I did the film a year ago, Lady of the Night,
mhm,
to literally around this time. Um, I just like in a year how much I progressed as a filmmaker, like the fact that I've now worked with a DP, and I just realized like the importance of having a cinematographer on set that can help me delegate. I mean, certain shots and framings while I can focus more on the actors or like the overall production as a whole. It's so
yeah,
vital, right? But again, this is
absolutely,
yeah, and this is what I mean by like necessity is as you're grinding, as you're developing. Yeah, in hindsight, you look back and say, yeah, I should have done this and that. But in the moment, let's be honest, man. Like as a director, I'm sure you have the same struggle. Like not a lot of people. You have to kind of develop and that trust and that network.
yeah,
You know what I mean? You
yeah,
have to
yeah,
like people think about it are like dedicating their days, 16, 18-hour days, all day sometimes, just to work with you because they trust your vision. That's a huge ask. You know
absolutely,
what I mean? Yeah. Um,
exactly.
so that's something that every filmmaker should acknowledge. Yeah. Yeah, man. So I want to know, like, what stories do you desire to tell in the future, and how would you like for the audience to remember your contribution to cinema, Chris?
Um, I like to tell like stories that empower diverse communities, especially the minorities, like
Okay.
strong, strong BIPOC lead stories, Black
Okay.
BIPOC narratives. Me personally, I would want to focus on the Black community, but I'm still open to focusing on other communities as well and helping that, like especially within Toronto, because Toronto is like one of the emerging like film industries in the world, and like we need to put ourselves on the map, when it
Right.
comes
Right.
to
Yeah. Of course.
filmmaking. I mean,
Yeah.
we're there, but there's more opportunity for growth, to expand and open up the market.
Yeah.
Yeah, so yeah. Um,
But how would
and
you like people to know, like, remember you? Like, are there certain stories that you want to tell, like certain characters of history that you want to kind of capture? Because you were mentioning like biopics, you're saying you want to do?
yeah,
Yeah. Like,
yeah.
is there any character in history that inspires you, that resonated with you and you would like to resonate for the audience or leave a lasting impact?
Yeah, there are stories, there are like cultural stories from where I'm from. So I'm from Ghana, right?
Okay. Yeah.
And you know how a lot of these, like the transatlantic slave trade and like all
Right.
this,
Right.
a lot of them come from Ghana, from the west coast of Africa, right? Ghana, Nigeria, you know. And before that, there's stories to be told before the transatlantic slave trade, right? Like stories of Mansa Musa, or there was a queen in Ghana who fought off some of these colonizers, you know, and like there's so much stories to be told, right? There's so
Right.
much heroes within um, throughout histories, like to be told, like just like the Viking
Yeah.
story.
Yeah.
We had people play to tell stories of historical figures like Ragnar Lothbrok, right? And when you watch it, you get inspired by the sacrifices, the decisions he made, right? That
Right.
character arc. And I want to have people like journey on that.
Got it.
Yeah, on that story with the character, those moments, what they contributed, how they fought, what took place, that would inspire and empower our community.
Yeah, no, that's a noble cause, right? And that's something that as filmmakers, what sets us apart from like someone that just cares about making movies, and there's those that care about making films. So I
Yeah,
think you and I see eye to eye about that. Is we want to tell stories that leave something with the audience,
absolutely.
whether it inspires them, whether it touches them, leave something poignant for them to be learn from.
Yeah,
And yeah, that's something that I kind of like realize with film nowadays. It's like, there's a lot of content, like crazy amount of content. Um, but I find it less and less there are stories that really like move me or like um resonate with me. You know what I mean? Like I don't know if it's like an overload of information or I'm becoming desensitized, but that's why I ask you this, is because like we're the next generation. You know what I mean? It's like
yeah,
we're roughly probably the same age. We're in our 20s. So we got to think about these things. Like how do we save or how do we revolutionize cinema for the better? Um,
absolutely.
yeah, man. So really, really admire that cause, and I support it. I think you'll do exceptionally well. We just gotta help each other get out of that burnout phase, because I
Absolutely.
definitely know what that's like, brother. But you're also
Yeah,
in school still, right? You, like you said, you have other responsibilities, so don't beat yourself up too much. That's advice I
yeah.
could give to you, man. Like
Thanks,
focus on
man.
school.
Thanks,
Yeah,
man.
yeah. Focus on school. You got to work. And sometimes those breaks are needed, right? Because when you come back,
Yeah,
you come back even stronger, right? You
absolutely.
develop the material in the meantime. So thank you, Chris, for coming on the podcast. Thank you for
Thank you
sharing
for
your
having
story, your
me,
journey.
man.
Yeah, yeah, of course, man. I really appreciate you sharing your journey and your insights as a film director.
Yeah,
And I really find it commendable that you transitioned from an actor to a film director, because not a lot of people would do that. They would like you
yeah,
say, they get comfortable, right, in their roles, but now you have a sense of everything on set. And yeah, looking forward to the more work that you create. So thank you again, Chris, for coming on the podcast. Thank you again, everybody, for listening, and we'll talk soon.